Good morning. You're listening to Drinking Socially, the official Untappd podcast.
Your weekly look into what's happening in the Untappd community and the world of beer. So, this episode is brought to you by Untappd and the Untappd store. Use the coupon code PODCAST to get 20% off your next purchase.
I'm John. You're listening to Season 4 of Drinking Socially. You probably already knew that because you're on a phone and you had to click on the episode and it told you that. But aside from that, what's new around here? Badges. Well, okay. So badges are not new at Untappd. They've been part of it for a long time, really, since the beginning. Yeah. But today, we're going to start with the most basic, and we're going to make Season 4 as much as we can about the core badges on Untappd. So today's about the Newbie Badge, the one we all have, hopefully. So grab a pint and listen to Harrison and I try and remember the past, really.
Yes, which is always a tricky thing to do for us, although we seem to talk about the past a lot. All right, so let's get in on this. So exactly, this season is all about badges, guys. It's what's for dinner, and sometimes if you're an avid Untappd user, lunch, breakfast. We don't judge here, judge-free zone. And we're starting, as John said, with the badge we all have, the Newbie Badge. So if you didn't take the time to read the description when you got it because it was your first time using Untappd and you were overwhelmed with the awesomeness of it, don't worry, you're probably not alone. But as a refresher, the description of this badge is, so, you're new around here. Congrats on your first brew. This one's for you. And I remember when I got mine, John and I pulling through this stuff when we were talking about this episode, obviously kind of reminiscing about where it all began. And even before I had this badge and the beer that unlocked it, John, do you remember who introduced you or where the idea of Untappd, when you first heard about it? Do you remember when that happened for you?
I do quite vividly. I was working retail, selling beer at a bottle shop, basically.
Right.
Only it was inside a grocery store, and somebody asked me for a beer, and I want to say it was Pliny the Elder, but it was a beer that didn't exist in the state I was in, on the coast I was in. It was just somebody asked me for one of those crazy beers, and I got that look on my face, like
right.
Kleinschlein. I don't know what beer you're looking for, but we don't have that one. And the guy said, you should use Untappd. That's how you can find out about beers. And I was a nerd, and I said, Untappd, is that like a phone thing? And he showed me the app, and we're still Untappd friends. And that was cool.
It's great.
Taught me about beer quite a lot over the years. What about you, Harrison?
My mom told me about it.
No.
I think she read an article about it, or on like the New York Times or something, and she knew that I loved beer. I'd been home brewing for a while at the time, and I think at that point, definitely at that point, I had already worked in a brewery for probably about a year and a half by then, and she told me about it, and I think I used it like a couple weeks later and unlocked the Newbie Badge. So moms are always right. That I'm proof of the pudding there, or whatever they say. I don't know. Sure, we're going to say proof of the pudding. It's not in the pudding.
The proof of the pudding.
It's of the pudding. You don't need proof of the pudding.
This is just creamy milk. I need some proof.
Then that creamy milk needs some time to become pudding, it sounds like, and maybe some refrigeration. So,
you're listening to culinary.
All right, so the Newbie Badge. Exactly right. So
nice.
You get it for your
Good
first
show,
check-in.
Harry.
I know. So I got mine March 28th, 2014. And the beer I unlocked it with was One Claw from Westbrook Brewing Company out of Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, which is right next to Charleston. And I was actually in Charleston at the time on a baby moon with my wife right before our first kid. So we went to Charleston and escaped, and I drank a lot of beer, and we both ate a lot of coconut cream pie, and it was an amazing, amazing trip. But I checked in there for the first time at a place called Low Country Bistro while I was having, I think, shrimp and grits. But I took a photo of it. I was like a pro from day one. So I looked, it's probably, I don't know, it looked like I knew or appeared to know more than I actually did. I was just kind of winging it. But One Claw, Westbrook, Amazing rye pale ale. I gave it a 4 bottle cap rating, and there's that Newbie Badge sitting right there. And the only person to have toasted it, this check-in, is you, John. So, what about you? What's the story behind your Newbie Badge and how you earned it?
So I was earlier in March. I was in March 7th, but a year after you. So March 7th, 2015 was my entry to Untappd. And I lost this badge in a Q&A experiment we did around, I remember, my first check-in.
Mysterious.
So I didn't realize it until I later on I'd earned the badge checking into a Yingling at the barber shop. And I was like, wait, I'm past newbie.
Right.
We've known each other for a while. So that was an experimental mishap in my Newbie Badge. But the beer I'd earned it on was Ballast Point's Indra Canindra.
Ooh, yeah.
And that, I still remember that beer. It was like cumin, coconut, curry,
right,
lime.
Right.
That beer was incredible, flavorful.
Right.
And I'm glad I checked it in many times afterward as well. It came from a growler. It was, I think, the first growler I'd ever had. And it happened at the same grocery store where I learned about Untappd on the same day. It was Mike Donahoe, who runs Session Beer Co. We had him on the show, I don't know, 2 seasons ago.
Shout
He's
out
great.
Mike. Yeah.
And he said, oh, yeah, you should use Untappd, not just to research beers, but you can check in. So I checked it in, and man, that started a huge adventure for me. Got the Newbie Badge. I think that was the only one I earned at the time, but I got rewarded for cataloging a great beer experience, and I've been hooked for 5 years.
I know, right? That's awesome. Well, definitely, guys out there, guys and gals, message us, comment on the Facebook group, jump on our socials, tell us when you guys, how you earned your Newbie Badge. Love to hear it. But now we're going to do something we do very well here and drink a beer, I believe, John. Is that correct?
That's the reason we do this, right? No, the reason is you guys and the sharing beer, but also drinking it, right? That's
right. This is just an elaborate scheme for John and I to be able to drink together on a regular basis. We figured it out, guys. Just create a podcast.
Well, you got lucky, Harrison. Your mom told you about Untappd. If we were in high school together, I'd be making some bad jokes, but here we are today, and I think that's awesome. So season 4, first episode of the season, first beer on the new Drinking Socially badge. It looks like this if you're watching us on YouTube. That probably doesn't give it away very much. This is Anchor Steam Beer from Anchor Brewing out in San Francisco. The style of this is a California Common, and I know Harrison's going to have some cool things to tell us about why this is such a unique beer preparation, beer style. It's popular on Untappd. It's Anchor's most popular beer. We usually drink, we had plans to drink their Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, which is another cool kind of lore-full beer they produce every year. 4.9 ABV. They list 33 IBUs. I expect I haven't had this in, it's over a year.
Yeah.
It's probably over 2 years since I've drank this beer.
Right.
And they give a long-winded description on Untappd, and I love them for it, but I'm not going to read it off to you guys on the podcast. Find it. It's readily available. Check it in, and you can kind of read through it. But Harrison, I don't know if you've taken a sip yet, but I'm curious to know what you think of this. And then if you have it in you for a minute or two, can you ad-lib kind of explain what a California Common, why that's unique, or what makes this beer kind of hard to explain?
Sure.
A hot lager?
Right, exactly. So that's it. You've kind of hit the two key points about this beer are that the temperature it's fermented at and that it's a lager. So yeah, we'll jump into that. Yeah, I mean, so Cali Common or California Common, it's a lager. So it's brewed with lager yeast, but it's fermented at ale temperatures, so a little bit warmer. Now, it's not 100 degrees like some crazy Quebec yeast. It's like instead of at 58 degrees or 56 degrees, it ferments at like 60 or 62 or 65 if you want. So depending on what kind of characters you want to pull out of it. But it's kind of noticeable, like a lot of these beers have a noticeable toasted malt and like caramel character to go along with it, and that's what I'm getting. But what I really love about this beer is, as you mentioned, it's got 33 IBUs, which is in no way high, but relative to other lagers, it very well might be. And it does have a nice kind of like grassy finish to it. They do a double dry hopped version of this beer as well, which is pretty cool, which I've had, I believe, had once. But yeah, I just love it. It's a great lager. It's an amber, lager. It's easy drinking. Again, it's sub 5%. But it's a little bit different. It's not, this and a Vienna lager, and maybe certainly similarities, but this beer specifically, it's like that grassy finish with the toasty caramel front that I really like. It's unique. It's really cool.
I think the first thing that comes to mind, it looks like an amber, and then I think of an English beer before I drink it, and then as soon as I drink it, I'm snapped back to like I want to say like a maltier Oktoberfest.
Sure.
But anybody that's had a Vienna or an Oktoberfest that they fell in love with, this, if you haven't had this yet, this should be a good year-round supplement for you.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep, it's definitely a darker lager. It's, similar to Marzens and more other Vienna-style lagers, other Dunkel lagers, but just a wee bit lighter. But still, for me, it's that grassy finish. I love it. Love it. So yeah, first sip's toasty, grassy, and super tasty. So that's it.
Super tasty.
Quote it.
That should be the name of this beer. Well,
probably
Anchor,
already
if you're listening.
Some other
Yeah.
beer.
Anchor super tasty. This is the beer, like we talk about, like the fat tire. Like I want to drink a fat tire, and people don't know that New Belgium makes a lot of other beers and stuff. But
I know.
I run into that problem with Anchor as well.
Same. I'll call the brewery. I'm guilty of it. Of calling it Anchor Steam, and the brewery is called Anchor Brewing. Just this is their steam beer, which is another reference to a California common, or another way to refer to it.
But they're just getting started. They've only been around for a little over 100 years, so they're working on that name recognition probably.
Yeah. And really, only since 1870 something. Yeah, it takes a little while for people to get the word out. A lot of talk on the water cooler about this Anchor Steam guy. You got to do a lot of it's all word of mouth, no advertising. Just kidding. But they're doing it. And really, the other reason we want to drink this, aside from it being a classic American craft beer, a little bit different, is because for seasons on end now, John and I have been saying next year is the year of the lager, and lagers are coming back, lagers are everywhere. And we kind of dawned on us, right? It dawned on us as we were playing this episode of like, wait a second, we host a beer podcast. Look out, Yahtzee. We could probably influence that a little bit. People, if we want to make it the year of the lager, let's just make it the year of the lager by drinking them. So here we are. We're kicking off season 4 with a killer lager, and we'll try to drink like 100 more of them before the season ends. So you heard it here first. That's the tentative plan.
Great challenge. And there's other, we'll have to get creative if every episode is to focus on a badge, but I think there's ways we can do it, man. Yeah. I'm here for it. Let's make 2021 the year of the lager as much as we can.
Much as we can. We're doing our part, starting off right. But it's also for us going to be the year of badges and really kind of diving into, I don't know if we want to call it the Untappd basics or the Untappd throwback, Untappd 101, whatever. We can call it whatever we like, but we have a little bit more to dive through today beyond the Newbie Badge. As you guys probably all know, we just covered it. Newbie Badge is the first badge everybody gets, but there are other milestone markers for every Untappd user's journey. They kind of denote, again, number of check-ins that you're hitting. So the next one, after Newbie, great, you're getting your feet wet, you discovered Untappd, you unlocked a badge, and for me, I was hooked. I mean, that's something we hear a lot, is the kind of how it's like collecting, Pokemon Go for beer fans. We hear that a lot, which I have my own thoughts about. But then also like trading cards or Pogs or yo-yos or whatever like that. All those things are essentially valueless.
People collect yo-yos?
Right. I do. If you're looking to get rid of your yo-yos, hit me up. They're coming back. I promise. I swear they're coming back. I'm like the Beanie Baby guy that's got him in a garbage bag in the attic.
Don't touch those ones.
Exactly.
Don't take them out of the package.
They touch the light, they decrease by 10%. Yeah, they're just insulating my attic. But yeah, so for me, I was hooked when I saw my first badge. I was like, ooh, there's a game in here. So, and I know I'm not alone. I'm not alone in that. So the next one, so I was eager to jump to the next kind of milestone marker, and that is the apprentice badge. You get that when you hit 25 check-ins, and these are just overall. Are they uniques, John? Does it have to be uniques, or is it just 25 period?
Just 25. Right, cool. You could effectively earn the apprentice by drinking a case of beer, and then on your next
one more, and that next morning, right?
That would have been a cool alternative name for the case plus one.
Yeah, the case
badge.
plus one. That sounds like Ryan, we have
cases of beer. Those are for craft drinkers, or just whatever you want to call me. Like a case of beer seems like a cruel challenge these days. I'm into 4-packs now, and even them sometimes. Anyways,
exactly. I'm right there with you. Right, I'll take my time. I have some 6-packs in my fridge that have been there since 2019, but that's my own fault. So yeah, so what do you remember, John, what you unlocked 25, the apprentice badge with?
I tell you, I could never remember it, but I did go back at Untappd and look.
That's why it's great. It's all there.
One of the many benefits.
Download your brain.
Because I earned that badge on Old Brown Dog. Great beer.
Yes.
Went from a stout to a brown. I think Old Brown Dogs were brown. Great beer. Wouldn't have remembered it. I think I've had it a few times since then, but I wish I didn't take a picture for it. That was What about you, Harrison?
My apprentice badge was earned from Wild Beer Co.'s Evolver, which is a Brett IPA. Which, if you remember that was like a thing.
Amyloglucosidase coming back.
Exactly. Oh man. And I still chuckle about how many of those were supposed to be IPAs but got infected and how many of them were actually Brett IPAs. But that's a yarn for another day. And I had that one in July of 2014, so not wasting much time between March and July to jump up to that next milestone myself. I think we both did some serious work the first year we were kind of on Untappd, hitting a lot of these milestones. And the next one is Journeyman, which you get at level 50, the Journeyman badge. What do you got for this one, John?
For me, it was another stout steak cake.
Ooh, great name. Right.
Awesome name from Double Barley out in North Carolina. They actually, I think probably the coolest thing about them recently is they got a cease and desist from Gene Simmons for their pumpkin beer that had a picture of his axe drawn on there. The top comment I read about this on Reddit was, nothing's more rock and roll than sending a cease and desist to a brewery for putting your likeness on their label.
On a beer.
So cheers to you, Double Barley. And that's a great stout, steak cake. What about you, Harris? I'm guessing it's another IPA. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, there's a noticeable trend here between my love for hops, which I've not been shy about. But this one, actually, I was excited to look this one up again because I forgot about this series. But if you remember, it was through all of 2014, Sierra Nevada used to do like kind of stout little 25-ounce bombers of like single hop IPAs. And one of them was the one I drank to unlock this beer. It was the Harvest Single Hop Equinox IPA, and that was the first time I had Equinox. And I think like the next year and a half, Equinox was like the hop of it was high alpha acid. It was crazy. I remember drinking it being like, I can barely drink this, but I love it. That's what I wanted. Like it's like hot sauce. Some of these super hoppy beers, you're like, I'm enjoying myself.
I promise I am.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sweating and crying, but I'm as happy as I'll ever be. So and I remember that. I remember that night, and I remember seeing it. Remember it relatively well. And I remember seeing it in the store and being like, no way, another one. Because, they did a couple. So that one got me to the Journeyman. And then after that is the Artisan at 100 check-ins. You get the Artisan badge. John, what unlocked this one for you?
Schofferhofer grapefruit. Moving on.
A little fun, a little casual Sunday.
It was a 2.5%. Didn't realize that, but I feel like eventually I started putting vodka in that and it was a good. That was probably
That's
around
right.
summertime for me.
Sure, there's nothing wrong with that. Sure, a little 2.5% kind of shandy thing happening. Mine, again, no surprise. Although I also remember this. It was Scratch 162 from Trogue. So hopefully you're all
That's
familiar
cool.
with their Scratch series, which has created a lot of beers that we all know now. My favorite one being Flying Mouflon, which was their barley wine. It started out as a Scratch beer, but this is number 162. They're up to, I think I saw on their social media recently, like number 455 in the Scratch series or so. So been a hot minute since 162 was out. There was a fresh hop ale, American style IPA from Trogues. And I had it actually at DeChico and Sons in Brewster, New York, which is a verified venue. And if you're from the kind of that area of New York, they have about 8 different, they're grocery stores with just like an amazing beer section. And they have a bar in a lot of the locations. And this is where I was. It was actually a Trogues tasting. And it was a huge
That's cool.
flight of a bunch of beers. And like half of them were Scratch beers that I knew I'd never see again. So my wife, we used to live like 45 minutes from there. And I was like, we're going. I'm drinking them. We're going to do it. And one of them unlocked the Artisan. So it was another fun night at a killer New York staple when it comes to craft beer.
Any of Trogue's Scratch beers, those are always fun. Like just knowing that you'll never see it again. That's so cool.
That's exactly it. And it worked. It worked for me. I'm a great anecdote there. You got me to cross state lines and sit in a grocery store and drink beer. And I was super happy about it. After that from 100, your Artisan, and then you jump up to 200. That's the next unlock is the Master Badge. John, what do you got for this one? This one made me smile. I had questions. I don't know if we'll get answers tonight, but it made me smile.
Yeah, so I was still bottle shopping. I was doing a lot of research. Every new beer that came in, I wanted to taste it. And go ahead, flame me. Blue Moon made a variety pack. And one of the beers in the variety pack was a cinnamon horchata.
Yeah.
So I broke up the variety pack and I put it in our mix six.
Right.
Because that was easier than picking up, all 12 of them. You could just grab the ones you liked,
Sure.
i.e. the cinnamon horchata.
Sure.
And a couple of my regulars came in and they were like, dude, that thing is weird, but it's good.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I took one home and that ended up being my 200th check-in.
Ooh.
I would tell you to drink horchata from the brewery if you were looking for something like that, because I think they did it better. But I don't regret it. I do regret having to talk about it right now, though. What about you, Harrison? As you earn your Master Badge and your 200th IPA at the same time?
Exactly right. I know. The variety is the spice of life, and my spice, I guess, is IPA or what have you. But I mean, in your defense, John, I would want to try that beer. It's a cinnamon horchata ale from Blue Moon. The curiosity alone would make me pick it up. So I think you're doing nothing but exploring, which is really what half the fun of this is. I talk about my millionth IPA here because I'm so brave at jumping out of my safety zone. So this one is the IDK, or the I Don't Know IPA by Barron Hill Tavern and Brewery, which is a brewery in the Philadelphia area that I grabbed at a local spot when I used to live in Fishtown there, while waiting to pick up dinner to bring home. I kind of remember it as well. I was like standing there at the bar, and they were like, "Do you want something to drink?" And I was like, "Eh." Then I looked up at the board and saw they had like a $4 cask special of this beer that came with a shot of Tullamore Dew, and I was like, actually,
for $4,
right? Exactly.
You'd be stupid to turn it down.
I know, right? So that's the exact thought I had. Didn't think any more about it, and I was like, I will do that, and a Dew, and I did it, and then enjoyed a cheeseburger back at the house. So again, a lot of food and beer memories.
Those 200. The Master Badge was good to both of us.
It was in different ways.
Yeah.
All right. After this, you jump from 200 to 500. So a little bit of work ahead of both of us to get here. And that 500 is the legendary badge. Now we are on the same level as Conan the Barbarian. And what do you have here, John? What
Crom. I drank a beer called Ginger and Beets Amber Ale from a brewery called Good Hops.
Okay.
No one's ever heard of Good Hops unless you went to Carolina Beach, East Coast, North Carolina. They're small, family-owned, and I'm not going to publicly talk about that beer. I was excited to try a beer brewed with ginger and beets.
Sure.
And I think that was probably before I remember, like, that one snuck up on me and I wasn't aware I was about to unlock the legendary badge. So it just hit me with a rando, and I was probably heartbroken when I realized, like, crap, now I have to drink a bunch more before I can have a momentous check-in. I hope yours was better.
Mine was, for the first time in this list, not an IPA. I unlocked it with Sierra Nevada's Summerfest, their summer seasonal, the Czech Pilsner style that they crank out every summer, which is always enjoyable. So yeah, that one I think also I had no idea that I was going to hit the legendary badge with it, which is probably grilling some burgers or whatever, grabbed a beer, surprise, you're now legendary, which is always
sometimes
nice.
The game gets you.
That's right. Can't be on all the time. Sometimes you got to let your guard down, and that's usually when the ground falls out from underneath your feet. But luckily, I just earned a badge. Nothing more dramatic happened than that. Next up is and again, quite a work ahead of us. From 500 to then 1,000 is the next unlock. The Extraordinary Badge. What do you got, John?
This one, I planned for this one. I knew it was coming. I was going camping. It was, I think, right around my birthday. And a good friend of mine who had later opened up Crystal Coast Brewing in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, he brought me a beer from Strange Ways.
Nice.
And I respected that brewery. They made a banana runts sour. That was the first beer I'd ever had from them. And so he's like, I'm going to bring you this beer. It's called Wampus Cat. It's a triple IPA. And I had it for probably 2 weeks, but I was saving this. This was going to be my 1,000th check-in.
Right.
And we're building up to, I was with Mike Donahoe from Session.
Love it.
My Untappd kind of life coach at the time. And we were camping and we were building up to this, and we drank that beer, and then we burned the glass, like kind of melted the glass over the fire, and it stayed in my garage until it was getting really silly to keep a melted hunk of glass. But that was a great beer. Big IPA. Don't remember what happened most of that night, but I think I made my first Snapchat that night as well. What about you? What about you, Harrison?
So I also planned for this beer. I think there was a lot of talk on the Drinking Socially Facebook group, if I remember correctly, or maybe even just internally in the office, about a lot of people were coming up to their 1,000 check-in around the same time. And it was just like you said, what are you going to do? What's your plan? And I knew that I just went in recently with other people we work with. You did as well, John, on a bottle of Utopias. And I was like, Utopias is going to be coming to the office. This is perfect. I'm at like 990. So let's just pace myself. I'll drink a couple beers. When it gets here, this is going to be my 1,000th check-in, and it's going to blow everybody's socks off.
That's awesome. 1,000.
Yeah, right. So as luck would have it, I'm at 998. Utopias is in the building, and we know we're going to drink that night. And I'm like, perfect. I'll go grab a pint after work from and have that. And that'll be $9.99. And then I'll drink some Utopias. And what could go wrong? What went wrong is I forgot to get that pint after work. And we went and checked in Utopias, and I was consumed by the moment and us sharing a beer. And holy cow, what is this thing? It smells crazy. Let's all check it in together and tag ourselves. And I do it, and I'm sitting there kind of waiting for the badge unlocks to pop up.
Oh my god!
And nothing happens, and I'm like, and I kind of like withdraw inside myself, and I'm like, what have I? I can't let anyone know that I've made a mistake.
Harrison's crying. Right, he loves his beer so much.
It looks like he's having a lot of fun, or maybe he's a kidney stone. What's going on with him over there? So yeah, I totally whiffed. I totally messed up, but it's okay. That was a great beer, obviously. I was able to laugh about it, and laughed about it even further because, in the kind of the chaos or the confusion or the whatever you want to call it of whiffing on that, I think I just forced my brain to forget it even happened and absent-mindedly checked in the beer that actually unlocked it the next day, which is a hilariously named beer. It's called Jort's Party from Wilmington Brew Co., which is a brewery in town here in Wilmington, North Carolina, where we are. The New England IPA, 8%. Then the actual can itself has like denim as part of the like wrapped around the label, a little denim artwork, which I thought was pretty funny. Big Jorts fan. And it was delicious. It was a really good beer. They make killer IPAs. Wilmington Brew Company does. So, again, super happy with it. It was delicious. But I'll never forget kind of being, again, so close to the finish line and then being the guy that trips over his untied shoelace as he's celebrating. So, be a lesson learned, just, I don't know, lesson to learn. I'm sure I'll make a similar mistake at this next one. So, after that...
I'm going to challenge you for the next one, just not to be an IPA. That's the challenge. It's a lager, man. It'll be a lager.
You're right. It'll be actually, it could happen this year. We got a little bit of, that's all right. We got about 1,000 beers to go, but the podcast just started, so no problem. But the next badge, you're right, is the Elite, opens at 2,500. John, have you gotten this one yet?
I'm about 450 away. It's a goal to get there. This year's the year. We're going back out to pubs. We're drinking. I'm checking into all my beers. This is it. But I haven't got there yet.
Likewise. And then after that is Uber at 10,000. 10,000 check-ins. Amazing. And I know there are people in the Facebook group, people I've spoken to at festivals and stuff who have crushed this. So my hat is off to you. That's unbelievable. Averaging more than 1,000 check-ins a year, because I've been around for about 10 years. So, but if you can do 1,000 in a year, I can do it. I can get to Elite this year. I've got, again, some work. Maybe I got a full beer fridge. I'm just going to do some flights by myself.
Keep a doctor on staff.
Yeah, I always have 9-1 saved in my phone. So if I just need to hit that extra one, perfect. I'm 90% of the way there, 30, 60, 66%. Anyway, doesn't matter. Math doesn't matter. That was fun. A lot of milestones.
So 10,000. Is there anything after 10,000?
As far as I know, that's it. There have been talk and rumors and myths out there in the Untappd world that perhaps there is more to be unlocked. But as far as I know, 10,000's it. But we'll see. We'll see when we get there.
I'll tell you what's a little better than 10,000 is the Drinking Socially badge, which we ran last year for the entire length of season 3, which was in 2020. Great year. So just a quick recap on last year's badge. 295,000 people unlocked it. So cheers to all of you. Social reach, it was shared on Twitter and Facebook. Over 2.5 million people saw the badge. So thanks for repping the podcast that you love. Can we say that? I'm implying it. Yeah. The top beers, we lost top check-ins. So I'm pretty sure it was chicken and beer in the Atlanta airport that was the top venue people earned that badge at. But it turns out too many people earned it and we weren't able to keep track. But I do have a quick rundown on top beers. Starting in third place, Franziskaner. Great beer. I put it on my Mount Beermore. Second place, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Iconic. First place beer.
Yep.
Hell yeah. Okay. So first place didn't end up on anyone's Mount Beermore, but it got twice the check-ins of Franziskaner. In first place was Lagunitas Daytime IPA. Boom. Crushing it. Great time with the badge last year. What about this year, Harry?
That's right. So fear not. Season 4 badge is out there. If you check in Anchor Steam right now, you will unlock it. And as was last season, every beer that we drink on this show will unlock that badge again for you. So excited to hope you guys like lagers, because lagers are coming your way. Well, and then obviously, as we just revealed, I can't really stay away from IPAs for that long. So there'll probably be a fair amount of those and who knows what else. But we're looking forward to it. I can't wait to see you guys check them in, and we'll see who tops it all out the end of this year. And speaking of badges again, did you guys know that you are probably at this moment close to a place you can unlock a badge, even if you buy a beer from them and bring them that beer home? I'm talking about the Verified Adventurer badge. So if you guys go to a verified venue or you pick up a beer from a verified venue and tag it as a place you purchase it from, you can unlock and level up the Verified Adventurer Badge. And so we've decided this season to highlight a new verified venue each week to help you guys find new places to level up on that badge. And so this week, we start with Lowe's Foods. So you've heard John talk about it a little bit already today. He used to work there. And I mean, we're saying Lowe's Foods, not Lowe's Hardware. And a lot of people know Lowe's Hardware. Lowe's Foods is kind of like a regional grocery store.
Cool if Lowe's Hardware sold beer.
That's right. And then nothing like a nail gun and an Imperial Stout to say, see you later, Saturday. Anyway. Oh, the emergency room, how'd I get here? They're trying to build a treehouse. Exactly. So we chose Lowe's Foods for a lot of reasons. I mean, so there are a bunch around town. We're lucky. It's all over the place. Great beer section. And even beyond that, they have something called the Beer Den. So you can go to Lowe's Foods and grab your, whatever you need, your ice cream and your tacos, and have a pint of beer while you shop. Which is really cool. They have a bunch of drafts, growlers to take home, along with all the cans and bottles they have to go too, which is pretty cool. Aspect of enjoying yourself at Lowe's Foods. Beyond, again, all the other great stuff they're doing on the beer side. Have a pint. By the time you get to the cereal aisle, you'll maybe triply stock up on Lucky Charms, because that liquid courage from the horchata cinnamon ale you're drinking is said, why not? Let's do some Lucky Charms this weekend. A little bit more dangerously. But also, I love they have great personal pizzas, great cookie cakes, and they do killer deals almost all the time on Carolina Peanut Company, which is a peanut company. Their Sriracha Ranch peanuts, they're as good as they sound. But I didn't work there. I just shopped there. I'm giving like the tourist opinion of this. John, what's like the inside scoop?
I think you already gave it away when you clarified that the Carolina Peanut Company was a peanut company. That already pulled the veil back.
It sounds like honestly, that's one of my favorite parts. To confuse people. That'd be a good jazz band name, jazz flute inspired fusion rock. Anyway.
12 persons on the stage. Lowe's Foods, we're lucky in North Carolina. There's, I think, over 50. There's some in South Carolina. They brew their own beer. Yes, they're a grocery store. And for a while, I worked for them when they were starting their Beer Den program. One of our own at Untappd left a couple of months ago, and he runs a beer den out in eastern North Carolina, and he's always posting these cool beers on his Instagram. It's really cool to see a grocery store reach out to local brewers, right? Like it's statewide, it's multi-states now, but you can go to a Lowe's Foods anywhere and you'll see local beer either on the shelf or on tap at one of their beer dens. I always thought that was really cool of them. And even though it's part of my beer history with the cinnamon horchata, I'm proud that it's part of my history all the same. So great feature on that verified venue. All of their grocery stores that have a beer den are verified. So if you're on Untappd, you can follow them. You'll get notifications when they update their tap lists. Some of their beer den masters are even putting like their bombers and their mixed six beers on there and stuff. So it's great to pay attention to. Like Harrison said, go in there, grab a pint on Thursdays. They do $2.50 pints. You have to grocery shop, but you don't have to do it. So no, so anyways, closing up this episode, everybody listening should already be a newbie. If not, earn it tonight. Go check a beer in. But the question, I guess, is how many have made it to Elite, and what beer should Harrison and I drink to earn our Elite badge this year? Yes. Good luck, Harrison.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Let us know. And between now and when we see you guys next, it's going to be Beer Can Appreciation Day. So that's coming up this Sunday, January 24th. And next episode, we'll celebrate that by talking about the From the Can badge and drinking a killer canned beer and talking about all kinds of other stuff. Who knows? Cinnamon horchata, other things, personal pizzas.
It's gone.
Peanut
Can't
companies. That's right. It doesn't, for some reason. But until then, guys, as always, follow us online, follow Untappd, all the social media at Untappd. You can follow John and I too, and the podcast itself at That Beer Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me as at Harry Beer. John is Drinking with John on Untappd and Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. So, hit us up, say hi, and until then, we will see you guys next week.
Cheers. Welcome back.
Cheers.